Welcome back. Let's get into the news review segment. The Daily Heritage reports that Births and Deaths Registry bans names such as Nana, Na and Junior. Afoko lied to police witness, and Abiman chiefs disown bomb suspect. Daily Guide says Gitmo 2 now refugee, says minister. So far so good. MPP's performance good. Imani. Bonking headmaster sacked. And NMCOK's GBC boss suspension. Mahama declares war on free SHS. Kenyan Times says, no way. Workers kick against additional salary deductions to fund NHIS. We're ready to deal with crime, lawlessness. Deputy Defense Minister says so. And Gitmo 2 are legal residents in Ghana, as according to the Foreign Affairs Minister. GS investigates case of Central Region sex tape, and Gitmo 2 now refugees. They live with families. Return to the U.S. not an option. That's the Daily Graphic. And national security operatives take over Okapehine's palace. The Daily Statement this morning says government rolls out initiative to fight fall armyworm. Wa Polytechnic to be named after Liman. Africa Watch exposed Mahama plan to kill free SHS, and NDC gave 2 Gitmo refugee status. Finally, on the front page of the Business Finder, EU backs Ghana beyond aid agenda, promises more trade and investments. My guest this morning, Richard Asante of the MPP. Rich, good morning. And how are you doing? Grateful. Everything fine? Nice. And Mohammed Seydou Fita is here on the behalf of the NDC. Chief, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning.
It's the first time I'm meeting you.
Yeah, sure.
And I understand you're a medical student.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. How are you doing? New Year resolutions, he's had his bite already. You have any New Year resolutions?
Yes, good morning to you. Good morning to your cherished viewers, especially members of the NDC in the Tolon constituency, Northern Region. New Year resolutions, I think that when the new year comes in, we just thank God for the past, and we pray that He give us a good way in the present. I really don't have resolutions. I leave everything to God. I work hard, keep so focused, and believe that by the end of the year, I'll be able to achieve something better. Appreciate it and then work towards the next year. So that's my New Year resolution. I don't really project something down, because God decides at the end of the day. We'll just keep pushing and see how God will take us to.
Let's talk Gitmo 2, and I'll start with you, Richard, on this one. Yesterday, the Foreign Affairs Minister was in Parliament. She says that, well, the people are not terrorists and refugees, as has been said, but now they have refugee status. That was what was granted them, and that an exit plan was not put in place. Are we going back on our words? Is the NPP going back on its words? Because the charge that, well, when we come, these people will go and all of that. What changed?
Good morning to you, and good morning to your amazing viewers. I think we are literally misquoting the NPP when we put the issues in that perspective. I think we need to let the Ghanaians understand our comments during the period.
What did you say?
Our comments were the fact that, one, if you wanted to bring such individuals into the country, you needed to do a broader consultation, including bringing it before the members of parliament, the people's representatives, and get their input into whatever decision that you were making. The then NDC government thought that what we were saying was not right. We equally were quite livid about the fact that, I mean, the people were brought into the country without we knowing what was going on, and their status and whatever it is that they were doing out, and the reasons for which they had been arrested and being kept in Guantanamo. I think the difficulty with the NDC and the way they are pushing this issue is that all the things that we spoke about, the Supreme Court literally endorsed, because we know Nana Boachi and another elderly woman took it to court, and the court affirmed that our point was right, that he needed to be sent to Parliament for Parliament to rectify sin.
And that was done.
That wasn't done.
And that was done later.
No, it wasn't done at all. It wasn't done.
Parliament didn't ratify.
So,
they
did not. I'm talking about the NDC administration did not go to Parliament for parliamentary ratification.
Right.
They didn't do that.
But subsequently, your government has done that.
If you allow me. So those were the difficulty we had with the whole arrangement, that you ought to do the things in the rightful manner. And secondly, we're kept in the dark, especially the good people of the country. what was the status of these people when they were being brought into the country. When now the information that is coming out states to the fact that these people were given refugee status. So once they've been given refugee status, they are going to live as refugees. It's like these Liberians and their situation.
And you're saying your party didn't know?
We didn't know all these things. Nobody knew about it. I mean, remember those times, even within the NDC hierarchy themselves, the then Attorney General, Madam Emerita, didn't seem to know anything about it. When the then Foreign Minister, Madam Hannah Tete, was equally confronted by the media, she had absolutely no idea. She said she didn't know anything about it. So it does appear that the only person who knew anything about these people, the arrangement, was the president. And those information were not made available to the people. So when this MPP government took over, we decided to check everything. And finally we realized that even the passport given to them and the whatever visas and clearance that was granted them was given to them at the background of these people being refugees. And when they came in within the NDC era, they were given opportunity to marry here, lived here, conducted other affairs. Maybe I even told that there are certain NDC officials who were at some of the one of them's wedding. What it is that
you are not sure about that.
I'm sure. I'm certain about it. They've gotten married in this country. It's known fact. I'm sure you are aware of it.
I'm sure they are married, but yeah. I'm not too sure if
I'm certain about it.
NDC,
you say you do not know,
right.
But I'm certain.
But you are certain.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know for sure. So the point is that if all these things have been done, making the people to be individuals, that we need to accept them as a country, as refugees, what else was NDC expecting the MPP government to do? Ours was to go to Parliament and let Parliament have input into it and put before Parliament what the NDC refused to do. So we went before Parliament and brought the issues up and let Parliament understand and appreciate what they represent the people. And when they go to their constituents, they can equally point out to them that these are the various difficulties, these are the issues that were kept from us, were kept in the dark as far as these things were concerned. Now we've come to know, we have the full facts, and based on the facts that is available to us, it is most likely looking impossible to send these people to Yemen, where there's at the moment you can't call Yemen as a country because it's a place that is seriously in a war zone where you cannot return these people to those areas. So based on the UN Convention, if a country is in such situation and you grant them their citizen clearance into your country under the status of refugees, until those wars and other things that is making the place uninhabitable are resolved, we cannot return these people to the place. So what it is? So all these things were far complete as far as the NDC government and the decision that they took in the past. So I'm sure that MPP, what we are going to do is that we continue to monitor the activities, monitor them. So far, for the period that they've been in the country, they have not caused any havoc. The only thing they've done is by getting married and making babies in this country. I mean, they are increasing the population and other things. But
does that worry you?
Oh, I mean, it doesn't really worry me much. Okay. I'm sure that, I mean, they are human beings. Okay. Taking women and wanting to, whatever it is, we are just watching them and watching the space.
Yeah, watching. Anyway, I thank you very much. Mohammed, let's take a bite on this one. The Foreign Affairs Minister says that there was no exit plan and that it's impossible at this point to send them back.
I was shocked listening to the Minister of Foreign Affairs yesterday in Parliament with regards to the issue of the 2 illegal detainees at the Guantanamo Bay.
Are they illegal?
Yeah, illegal.
They have
because they were illegal detainees in the US, in the Guantanamo Bay. They were there for 14 good years without any prosecution. And so the US government wanted to shut down the Guantanamo Bay.
Right.
And Ghana was part of the countries that decided to take these detainees based on compassionate, humanitarian grounds. And the MPP came out to make a lot of noise about them, making issues that to look as if they were a threat to national security. It took even people like the National Chief Imam to come out to tell Ghanaians that, look, let's accept these young men, let's put them under surveillance, and when they are posing danger to the country, then we can take them back. And when Mrs. Hannah Tete, the then former, Miss Hannah Tete, the then Minister of Foreign Affairs, when we received these detainees, and if you allow me, I'll read this. She said, at the request of the U.S. government, we have also agreed to accept 2 detainees of Yemeni origin who were detained in Guantanamo Bay, but who have been cleared of any involvement in any terrorist activities and are being released. And let me go to the end. They are unable to return to Yemen at the moment, and we have indicated our readiness to accept them for a period of 2 years, after which they may leave the country. They may. That was a caveat that was used to mean that these people could, in future, be given a refugee status.
6 months down the line, they were granted that refugee status.
Exactly. So it means that even in her first statement,
you added an information to
yes, I'm taking it from him.
Please. Yes. So 6 months that they were in January.
Even the day she came
by June, they had a refugee status.
The day she even came out with a statement, she gave us a clue that this young man could be given refugee status. Be it as it may, if they are given refugee status, the MPP went back to court. Because the 2 citizens who went to court are known MPP members.
They didn't go back.
Oh, they went to, but they are citizens,
Richard,
but they are members of the MPP.
Richard, I beg you.
Why are MPP members not citizens of Ghana? Is that what you are saying?
Make progress.
They went to the court, and the court passed a verdict that this young man should be sent back to their country on the 6th of January. And so
all ratification be done in Parliament.
Oh, that ratification was done.
All ratification. That was what
the ratification was done by Parliament to accept them.
There were
into the
2
country.
options available.
Yeah.
One, they be sent back, or you ratify and keep them here. That was the verdict.
But the MPP nuance was more on they being sent back to their country.
But the court's decision.
The court. Exactly. So they can agree. They can agree to take them back to their country. You can revoke the powers of the refugee board.
You don't do that.
That article.
UN conventions.
Why Article 72 and 75 to
Richard, allow him to make his
Article
point.
75 to has that powers more than the board of the refugees to send them back to their country. I'm very happy he's saying that their country, there's a lot of chaos, and for now we can't negotiate with their government.
There's not a government there. We're told
they could have known this better. Today, the MPP is playing the ostrich.
Please, Richard. Yes.
As if these men are now responsible, that they can live with us. And I was so surprised.
They say you created this avoidable mess. That's the.
Let's agree. Let's agree that we created a mess by giving them the refugee status. But from the beginning, we made Ghanaians aware that these young men are not posing any security threat to our country, because they were put under surveillance, and we're going to make sure that we watch their moves, where and how. So, and this MPP, they were trying to make people feel as if that John Dramani Mahama, he accepted these people by taking money from the U.S. government before. All this propaganda today, people are seeing.
There was nothing like that.
There was nothing like that. Sure. Oh, why? Do you have any evidence to prove that?
So forward march. This is it. We're told there's no exit plan. Is that the case? No exit plan at all for these 2. Is that the case?
Yesterday, the same foreign affairs minister in Parliament said that they are looking at other options. They've spoken to 2 countries, which names he was not ready to mention, based on security grounds. And she said they are looking at another country. If they agree, then they can send these people to those countries. But that is also based on the consent of these 2 refugees.
Right.
If they agree, then you can send them to a different country. But if they agree not, you can push them out. Let's agree that, look, at one time or the other, issues like this will come up. If people are detained in a prison for no crime committed, and at the end of the day, the U.S. government wants to give them to other countries. In fact, we're not the only country that accepted these detainees. Some other countries also did. But there was no noise coming from there. At the period, the MPP was making a whole lot of noise about this. It made us look as if we're not friendly.
Could we have avoided this back and forth? Could we have?
I mean, what's the danger in taking refugees into our country? Is this the first time? We have even people who are citizens and they are more dangerous than these 2 refugees. So issues like this, I don't think it should be making a lot of noise about it. We have more bigger problems in this country than the issue of these detainees, which could have been avoided. I mean, if we had not made a lot of noise about it, I'm not sure we would have been discussing it today. The MPP made a whole lot of noise about it, a lot of propaganda about it, to make the former president look so bad in the face of people. I mean, we can move forward. I think that they are now swallowing the humble pie to say that they are of good behavior, and it is better for us to live with them. But to kill that mischief or propaganda heroes, I mean, how can NDC members attend a wedding of these two detainees. I mean, come on, let's raise the bar. Let's raise the bar.
He said they didn't attend. He said they didn't attend the wedding. But
I mean,
who attended the wedding? Richard, hold on.
I don't want us to.
Richard, hold on. Richard, hold on.
I don't want us to dilute it with just a simple
Richard, hold on.
Richard, hold on.
Richard, hold on. Richard, hold on. Who and who attended the wedding?
I'm saying that I don't want to dilute the government of this discussion based on wedding and who and who.
But you're making.
I made it in just to let you know that
it was in jest.
It was in jest in the country.
It was in jest.
But let me supply you other information. You see, there's a serious issue of perjury that we need to look at. When Madam Hannah Tete, the then foreign minister, visited Parliament, she was under oath. And virtually all the information that she supplied to Parliament had turned out to be false. And these are serious issues.
You are not sure about that?
No, I'm certain. I'm very certain.
You are not sure about that?
The majority in Parliament have raised issues about that. The kind of information she supplied when she came before Parliament. I remember then Mr. Fritz Bafo.
Fritz
Bafo. Who was also one of the prominent persons.
MP for Ablekuma.
Raised issues about the fact that Parliament as an institution had no knowledge about the whole arrangement. The difficulties with it. NDC brought these people under the cover of this, under some mercy that all of a sudden they've gotten. And the fact that they thought that they needed to be more pious than the Pope and went out there and brought these people to this country. Before they exited, before the 2 years that they've allowed the people to stay in the country elapsed, they've gone ahead to guarantee them refugee status. And when people are given refugee status, the only way under our laws, the only way you can send those people back is when they flout the laws of the country. And so far they haven't. The other arrangement that the NPP government is trying to do as a responsible government is to see whether we can get another country that is interested in accepting these people. I mean, let's just be here and just speak truth to power and understand that there are basic things that went wrong in time past. Well, we know our president who have gone out there to bring funds to build UDS, who have gone out there to bring money to help in construction of N1 highway and all that. But we don't go out there bringing people who are in such situation. If US thought that these people are genius, they are engineers who could help build any country, how come they didn't keep them? And they were looking for places to dump them.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, I mean, these issues have come back to in full circle, and we are being faced with the realities, and the deeds of the NDC have come catching up with them. And some of us will be pushing that Madam Hannah Tete should be invited back to Parliament to answer questions as to the kind of information she supplied, though she was under oath. How come she did not make it clear to Parliament that these people have been granted refugee status? How come certain basic information that ought to be known to the good people of this country were shredded in secrecy? These are the very important issues that Ghanaians are raising.
Will you rather put the blame at the doorstep of Parliament for perhaps not pushing and asking for the questions and the answers rather than singling out Madam Hannah Tete? Would you rather?
The issues are that Parliament can only come in and officially comment on issues and deal with it and have full facts when issues are brought before them.
But if the minister at the time
invites you and you lie, and later they come to realize that indeed under oath you lied, that is perjury and that's a criminal offense. And based on that, this woman, Madam Hannah Tete, ought to be invited before Parliament.
So you want her to be hanged?
She has to be. See, we cannot continue to perpetuate illegality. We cannot continue to allow people to go out there and spit in the face of Parliament. It's an august institution. And we need to show them some level of respect.
Hey, Mohammed.
If the people representative ask you to appear before them and present them with information, you ought to be there and do same. But you don't go out there and fabricate stories and tell them untruth.
But you so sound so confident about this fabrication.
And I know for a fact.
Sorry. But you have not presented any document to say that. Because the things that Madam Hannah Tete said in Parliament are being quoted. Some are being quoted now by Madam Shelley Ayokobotwe.
I'm sure you can easily cross-check. In terms of parliamentary hazard,
right.
on the day, it's a record activities or whatever happens in Parliament
Absolutely.
on a given day. When you pick the answer, the day she appeared, the kind of responses she gave, the answers she provided, the analysis that she was making. Now, it turns out that all the things that she was saying, most of them were untrue.
And I'm saying that Shelley Ayakobochi has been quoting some portions of
I'm
what
saying that
Hannah
that's what I'm saying. Some of them.
But you are saying all the things. Anyway.
No, see, obviously, you can't say all the things because indeed there were human beings in the country. And she admitted that there are two people. So if the two people were brought from Yemen, you can't say it's untrue that these people were brought from the US and they are Yemeni citizens.
Thank you very much.
Those facts are
let Mohammed have
the aspect that we expected her to be clear to Ghanaians that what is the status of these people in the country. She should have made it obvious to Parliament that
you have had enough time on this one. I'm grateful. Mo, take a bite. Take a bite. You see, when you're having time, you don't complain. But when somebody has time, then you start complaining. Mo.
The NPP is now struggling today to stand by the words they used in the past. And it is coming back to haunt them. You see, he's being speculative here. A lot of the statements made in Parliament by Mrs. Hannah Tetteh are the same statements that the current minister is quoting. She never said, nobody asked her any question concerning the fact that whether they were granted refugee status or not, and she denied it. In fact, what I read to you earlier, I came with a caveat. She said that they may, after the 2 years, expire their stay in Ghana, and the government would take the next action. She was saying this knowing at the back of her mind that we could lose the election or win it. And if we are going to win, what will be the next step? Today, we lost the election and the NPP is now in power. They were crying so much about this young man. And they have the power. You can't tell me there's no power to revoke their citizenship in Ghana today as refugees. You can revoke it, and they have the power. So they should go ahead and do it and stop blaming the past for whatever was done. Look, the past is gone and we are now in the present. They were making a lot of noise yesterday, as if we made a lot of mistakes and when they come, they'll correct it. They have the power and they have everything at their disposal. They should correct the wrongs. If we think that Mrs. Hannah Tetteh made a mistake and Miss Hannah Tetteh, she committed perjury, they can invite her. And I am telling you, if they invite her, they are going to change their story again, just as they've changed it today. Yesterday, when I listened to the minister, she said reports she has received from her sources shows that they are of good behavior. These were the same things we were saying, that these young men are not posing any security threat to our country. And they were saying no. And indeed, the issues they were bringing on top of it was to make the former president, as I stated earlier, look so bad in the eyes of people that he took money from the American president before accepting these people. Today, the facts are clear. They can go and check. Nobody is now talking about the issue of taking money before bringing them in. So the NPP can do something better about this than sitting at one place complaining and saying that we have tied their hands. Release yourself. You have that power to release yourself and do what is right.
Is it that easy? Is it that easy to release yourself?
They thought it was easy to just refuse refugees into the country.
I thank you very much. Let's go to page 9 of the Daily Guide newspaper. The Imani Ghana says, so far so good, MPP's performance. I'll start with you. Imani is giving you credit, but on the back of that, they're saying that you're scored low in getting the right balance between taxation and revenue mobilization, tax cut and revenue mobilization. What do you say to that? I think that's the spine of any economy.
Thank you very much. I think as a government, our attitude is to listen to criticisms, especially constructive ones that will help in the forward movement of our country and in building our country. Our attitude is to allow individuals to express their views and opinions on matters of national interest, and including organizations and civil society, because we do respect them, because we do believe that they have a very critical role to play in our infant democracy. And when we talk about civil society organization, I'm sure Imani is one of the prominent ones out there. And so any time that they speak or they come out with criticisms and also praises, we take both the highs and the lows and try to make sure that we make the necessary changes to see how we can better our performance in any sector that they might raise issues about. I've been looking at and reading the report, and yesterday listening to them on our sister station. It does appear that they gave the government extremely high marks in most of the areas. Their issues or difficulties were the fact that this government has given a lot of tax concessions free. Certain individuals have received, sectors have received tax cuts. Remember, these Kaya years were given. They were prevented from paying levies to the various assemblies. We know that government literally took import duty from raw materials and machineries that you are bringing to the country. We know that other sectors where people were supposed to pay other huge taxes, government has taken making effort in making sure that these are reduced to make the lives of the people better. Even looking at even this year, government is further going ahead to look at how we can reduce electricity and other areas. So at the end of the day, they see that government is busily trying to reduce all these taxes with the overall objective of wanting to create the enabling environment for private sector to grow or to thrive. Because at the end, the MPP, our belief is in the private sector that create an enabling environment, let them create the needed jobs, let them flourish. When they grow, government can then find a way of increasing its tax revenue, because we've done that before. Because I remember when in the Kufre's era, when we came in, corporate taxes were hoping around, I think 30 or 35%, I stand to be corrected. But the government brought it to, I think, 25%.
That's why Imani has a problem. That if you cut the taxes, it affects your revenue.
That's what I'm saying, that when government did that during President Kufuor's era, what it did was that it rather increased our tax revenue, because then people were motivated to go and pay taxes. Companies who otherwise were struggling were able to readjust.
Is that the case now? That people are motivated to pay?
We are having more. What people haven't realized is that we set a huge target for ourselves, and that target we're not able to meet it. But in terms of the projections, and in terms of the amounts realized compared to what was realized in 2016, it was 18% better. Are you getting me?
Why were you not able to meet the target?
So we set very ambitious targets, because that's what we wanted to do. You didn't want to set any mediocre target thinking that we just want to do it and continue tickling ourselves. That
somebody would say that when a government comes up, the first thing they do is to try and stabilize the economy before they move into development. But you're trying to juxtapose both.
I think what we've done is that, this year especially, we saw the government trying to go into paperless, trying to formalize last year, trying to formalize the economy through this paperless system at the port, looking at the Registrar General's department, trying to formalize the area, passport, other areas that people are supposed to do business. We try to make sure that things are done properly. When you go to GIPC, better things were being done. So we're getting a lot more inflows into the country. At the end of the day, when you listen to AG and you look at the industry growth, the growth of industry has literally quadrupled compared to 2016. So it gives you the impression that indeed something better is being done by this government. Beyond the tax issues that they raised, all the other areas that they spoke about, they gave the government high marks on the government's ability to confront the difficulty of implementing the free education, but yet brought it and find a solution to the various teething difficulties that people are raising.
They mentioned a very critical area. I'm interested that, well, politicians will always put out their manifesto, but they never put timelines to it. For example, the one district, one factory, we've been told so many times that it was going to start. Hold on. The one district, one factory, and that's, I'm quoting Imani's Patrick Stevens. Yeah. The one district, one factory, for example, we've been told how many times it's going to roll out. I remember just at the beginning of January, Dr. Baomi had mentioned that we will start it. That was the third time I'd heard that particular statement. Rolling it over and over again.
I think in terms of the timelines for our manifesto promises or pledges, it is constitutional. Every government, once given opportunity, have 4-year mandate.
But
it is specified in the constitution.
But
that is the time frame.
Agreed.
So our manifesto
So,
is supposed to be implemented within 4-year period.
So we're told it is overgrown. It's
no, don't worry. And I think I was giving you the information. What the government needed to do was to assist the company set up a plant where they will start processing and adding value to it. Government had gone ahead to guarantee them funds representing about $7 million.
We're here to see a single block later.
You see,
Mohammed,
my brother,
you haven't enough time. I'm grateful.
If you say something, I need to supply with information.
But Richard,
because you see,
it's a fact. We've not had a single block
for
there.
Food. It has started.
When was
the last time?
There are blocks there.
The one was last time we checked.
Thank you.
And beyond that,
Richard, I thank you very much.
planting for food and jobs.
And the implementation of the policies that they promised the good people of Ghana. And they started with the issue of economy. You see, we are in a country where an opposition party that was very strong about issues of economy and the performance of the cedi against the dollar. And I remember Dr. Baumes describing the cedi running more than the dollar, like Usain Bolt. He used the Usain Bolt, example, and said the dollar was running. By which time a dollar was going for 3 cedi 70 pesos. Today.
Which country was that?
Today.
Please, allow him to make his point. Yes.
Businessman is never true. And then this with 3 cedis.
Why
can we make progress, Mohammed?
A dollar was going for 3 cedi 70 pesos. Today, a dollar is going for 4 cedi 55 pesos. And indeed, before today, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia came out and mentioned clearly on national television that we can ask Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. He made that statement. And he said he has given the key to the
I'm asking
IGP.
you, did the cedi escape?
I mean, where are we today? Where are we today? A dollar is going for 4 cedi 55 pesos. The cedi is escaping more now than before. Go and buy fuel at the pump. Give them 100 Ghana cedi. They give you 11 liters. You can't use it for 4 days. That is how the good people of Ghana feel the economy. That is how they feel, and not coming to throw figures out.
So Imani is not being what? No. It's not being forthright. Is that what you say?
They didn't give them high points. You go to economy, they didn't give them 70%.
Right.
They come to the issue of job creation. The MPP promised graduates that after Osafo Mafo and these friends and family people got their employments, they came out and said the public sector is now full, and they can only get themselves fixed in private sector. Do you think it is easy to get into the private sector if you have no money? Do you think these students or the graduates, they would have been sitting in the house expecting government to employ them if they had money to go into private businesses? And today, they want people to come out and clap for them for failing the good people of Ghana. Let's go to the issue of one district, one factory. When Nana Akufo-Addo, the president, His Excellency, came to power, I remember he was going to other African countries to thank them for coming for his inauguration. He went with Honorable Alan Chermantin, the trade minister, to Togo. I listened to him, and he mentioned that the one district, one factory is not going to be like the factories we expect. They are going to be factories of what you can produce in your district or locality.
Closeness to the raw materials.
Exactly. For instance, I come from a Hausa Zongo area, and what we manufacture, how do we? You need money to export them. Of course. Why? Is the government coming to take it free from you and export them?
Make your point, please.
Even those who make the sandals, they are not even using them. Those who make the sandals. So today when you look around, you look at the government and you ask yourself, what really they were promising us? Is it what they intend to do today? You go to the issue of agriculture.
Where Imani scored them very high marks there.
I didn't know what they used. And my good friend here is saying that...
It says that agrics increased the GDP contribution by from 33.9% in 2016 to 7% in 2017.
How?
Imani did their calculations.
How is it done?
Partly due to the rollout of the initiative.
How is it done? When Northern region, we are still nursing wounds of this army worm infestation. And when we came out complaining, a deputy minister of agriculture came out and said that we are lying to the government to take money. When he could have easily sent journalists to come down to the ground to see what was happening. He came out and called us liars.
He resigned.
Of course, but that has not turned the worst of the minister. So when you are saying this to the ordinary person in the northern region, that the government has performed very well in agriculture, they look at you and laugh. Because we are still nursing our injuries. We found there was army fall infestation. You came out and come on. It is the responsibility of government to solve the problems of the people. Are you going to tell me that if armed robbers are attacking me today and I'm crying for security, the government shouldn't come because I expose myself to a security
told
threat?
Parliament, and the Hansard captured it, that the army worm has been defeated. He was emphatic.
The farms were defeated,
you're saying otherwise.
The farms were defeated, rather. The farms were defeated. If soldiers go to war and they are done with their enemies, don't they go home? And can you say that because the enemies are no more alive? I mean, let's get serious, and let's come to the issue of governance. Let's come to the issue of governance. And they said they are rating MPP good when it comes to issues of governance, coupled with all these vigilante attacks, etc. When the youth of a party can go to a national security coordinator, drag him on stairs, and when they were arrested and taken to court, their colleagues came to the court. They attacked the judges and lawyers in the court and freed them on video. And when they went,
the court ruled.
That is the funny aspect of it. That's the funny aspect of it. If you can go and attack a judge and a lawyer, and they charge you 18,000, then anybody at all who have that amount of money can go and do anything at all and walk away. I think more punishment should have been meted to these young men than what they gave to
Let's
them.
talk about the failures that Imani spoke about. They spoke about the fact that the government sought low in terms of tax cuts and revenue generation.
Can I land with the issue of education? You see, they talked about the issue of implementation of fee-free. We shouldn't just look at it on the paper value. Okay? We talk about congestion. First of all, if you are bringing a policy, there should be a policy document. And my friend is aware that there's no policy document. Oh. There's no policy document.
We're told the policy document is ready to be taken.
It's ready
to be taken to Parliament.
So it is not in Parliament. There's no policy document for fee free. There's no policy. Oh, but he just mentioned it to you that they said it is ready. A policy document ready to be sent to Parliament is different from a policy document being in place. In the first place, the policy document should have been there before you roll out the policy. That's the purpose of policy documents, and not to start the policy and come back. Oh, please. Oh, please. Richard, when you were talking, I was silent. You didn't put honey in my mouth.
Mohammed, go on.
Okay.
Mohammed, go on.
The point is clear. Look, the government.
And wrap up for me.
The government should have taken serious consideration of accommodation of the students.
Right.
Today, you can come to a school in Tamale, for instance, like Tamasco, for instance. They have 800 students. 800 students admitted, and when you go to one class, you can have 9. At the end of the day, you bring fee free to make sure you train students. At the end of the day, they pass out and get good grades to move further in education.
The government acknowledges the challenges that you're talking about. And the president says they are moving to
They were
them.
even sacking headmasters for bringing out the challenges, especially when headmaster brought the issue of students sitting on bricks. He was fired. Today they are coming back to swallow their own words. Anyway, and let me add this.
Let's take some messages.
Let me land on this one.
Right.
There are health challenges with regards to the issue of fee-free. You know the issue of hepatitis B, for instance. When students are lumped so much in one in one hostel, and hepatitis B, you can only get it through sharing human fluids.
Right.
When it comes to the time of, for instance, in northern region, we are now experiencing Harmattan. When the weather is hot and you produce a lot of sweat, you show it to people. And before your walls get to finish senior high school, you'll be recording a lot of deaths in the system. So the government should have looked at the issue of accommodation, furniture on which students can sit comfortably and learn, and creating more classrooms and train more teachers to take care of the students. You just throw people to schools and you say that you are rolling out a policy. And at the end of the day, what are we recording?
Anyway, let's check out some of your messages here. Suhini Imran in Tamale says, it's not for nothing that Ghana is being touted as the home of hospitality. As far as the continuous stay of the Gitmo 2 does not throwing dust into our eyes. He's struggling to defend the defenseless. They made a lot of noise about the Gitmo 2. Seydu Fita, well done. We're watching you. Johnny, you're waiting for the number. Okay, Omar, kindly call the studio line after the show, and I'll give you the number. I'm grateful. TV3 NewDay, good morning. After 1 year in office, MPP is still fighting corruption. Meanwhile, they cannot point to a single constructive achievement to their credit. More talks, nothing done. MPP, hey, 2020 is just around the corner. Osman Burgesan in Tamale says so. Osman doesn't want to see anything. The system is not helping. Well, we'll come back to the messages shortly.
I need to just
you've had your bite. Let's have a very final conversation.
Just a second. I think my brother's argument about the free education. As a government, we understand that free education is one of the greatest achievements that any government
make your
can
point,
bring
because
to
we
the
don't
people.
have time.
Well, let's understand and appreciate that I, as Antiabua sitting here, I'll prefer our people being in the classrooms in their thousands to learn and obtain education than being on the street to sell dog chains or turning them into armed robbers on the street. I'm not sure my brother here, his parents saved all the money in the world before he was asked to start school. They were working towards it and resolving problems as and when.
Could we have gotten it better?
I'm sure, especially when I hear our brother from the north speak against free education, I get sad.
Could we have gotten it better?
Our brothers from the north continue to enjoy free education before the. It's so difficult to understand.
Okay,
Your information
let's
is
move
wrong.
on, gentlemen.
Don't we have university graduates who are armed robbers on the streets?
All the
What are you
people
talking about?
Let's move on.
Feel free will not stop anyone from being an armed robber.
Let's hear from you.
People are university graduates and they are armed robbers.
05082352228. I thank you. Now, in which the headmaster of Idumenu DA Basic School, Robert Sepe, is seen having sex with a young lady believed to be a third-year senior high school student. Although the video shows the two had consensual sex, the headmaster had fled the community since the video reached millions of views. About this particular one, Richard. Moral decadence and the issues flowing from same. What do you say?
I think the headmaster didn't do himself any good, because I find it difficult to know that initially when I heard it, I thought he was doing this and somebody went and recorded that. But to come to know that he was the same person who recorded that, and through whatever means, if that video fell in the hands of the general public, it's another major difficulty. I think we've had this issue, leakages all over the place, and the difficulty is that for see a headmaster in such situation with a student, it's cause for worry. And I think that GES need to look at it and investigate this. I'm thinking that he didn't help matters. And for what you're saying, now the age of the student is something that is even being argued out there, because obviously if the child is below 18 and thereabout, then you can be talking about.
I'm concerned about why people would have sexual intercourse and record.
That's the point.
It's becoming a worry.
And those times, the era of laptops.
Right.
And funny thing is that these apps and WhatsApp and all those things were not in existence around the time. So you could, what the person did was to just put them on YouTube or somewhere. And it was such a major difficulty. They literally stopped school because of that. A lot of marriages have been broken because of things like this. Some of them even are flowing from the person's past. But I'm not sure anybody will be able to accept that he sees the wife or a partner, though the person's issues were in the past, video and the nakedness being exposed to the full glare of the general public. It's a major difficulty. No pastors confronting.
This man's face has been seen, and yet we're told he's being investigated at this point. I thought that the police would have picked him up at this point.
I think investigation, they say, is needed. Kid to some one bad child. I mean, go to school and learn. Look at what you're learning.
Mohammed, yes. Are we in trouble? Do we have a time bomb ticking?
Yeah, it is sad. I think the only problem about this issue is about the fact that they recorded the intercourse or whatever it is and sent it out. And when
we are not too sure if they sent it out.
They didn't. When the news first broke out, I took my time to read much about it. And the lady in question came out to say that she was not raped. She's 20 years and the parents are even aware that she's going out with the headmaster. And two, that she recorded the process.
Okay.
And she had a problem with her phone.
Okay.
So she sent the phone to a phone repairer and then she believed that is the source of the circulation of this video.
Right.
So to mean that
And
it
this
was
video
not
is a year old, by the way.
Yeah, so it means it was not the headmaster, and it was not an intention for them to circulate it. It came out due to an accident, because to say that the headmaster is supposed to be sacked, etc., I don't think that should be the way to go.
What's the GS
Because
regulation? What does it say?
I listened to you this morning.
That you are my teacher.
I listened to you this morning. If the teacher is sacked, is the lady also going to be sacked from school? Absolutely not, because we are looking at the lady to be the one who is going to be affected.
Yes. I'm saying that according to the GS regulations, the ethical standards, I am your teacher, and so I am supposed to be training and forming you.
Yes.
Now I am getting into the gutter with you.
Yes, as part of their code and ethics, they've not stated anywhere that a teacher cannot marry a student. It is not stated, but the father or the parents are aware that she is going out with a man. I am not in support of this video.
That doesn't constitute
I'm not
marriage.
in support of this video. But I'm just trying to say that, look, we shouldn't blow the issue out of proportion. The fact is that teachers have gone further to marry students who are even at the junior high schools. Okay? And marriage is a process. You have to start courting before you can get into that, situation of marriage. And you can't say it's just that theirs is even out for public consumption. Others are doing even more worse what they are doing.
I'm sure you have done some national service, and Richard as well. The stories we have heard about national service personnel who get to villages who are supposed to be teaching, and they end.
When we're doing our community research, third trimester full practical program at the UDS, you could go to a community and you see students impregnating the wives of assemblymen and chiefs and running away. I mean, this is common. It's happening. Though it is not good, but it's happening. So this is not the first time.
What can we do? Let's wrap up. What can we do?
What is about yourself. I mean, you inculcate this moral something into your mind, and not to involve yourself in situations like this. For instance, I mean, this lady, she has been in a long-standing relationship with the teacher. They didn't just start it yesterday. As you mentioned earlier, the video is even 1 year old today.
Exactly.
It means they dated for a longer period of time. And what I think we should do now is to sit them down. Let's counsel them. We shouldn't be chasing the teacher as if, he's someone who has done something that has never been happened before.
I thank you very much. I thank you, Richard. I thank you. You have been smiling all through this conversation. It's
quite. The point is that, like you said, I think even there are members of parliament who are caught in similar webs.
Right.
Though videos were not leaked, but like maybe somebody getting involved with a junior AJHS student and all.
It's a national issue. We need to deal with it.
Yes,
Richard Asante, I thank you very much. He's MPP's communication member. Yes, Mohammed.
I want to say special greetings to my constituency, Tolong constituency for Feni, a community in the Tolong constituency. I was not there, and I wish him well.
Okay.
And just pray that maybe in the next life he will be enskined as a bigger chief than where he is currently.
Mohammed, go home.
I'll go home.
Go home. When
I'll
they call you, go home.
I'll go home.
In the next life.
Mohammed,
when he died,
Mohammed
not that.
Fita speaks for the NDC. He is also a medical student who's yet to graduate, 1 year shy of that. But guys, the Daily Heritage says birth and death registry bans names such as Nana and all of that. Your name Fita. Your name Fita is because your forebears were mechanics.
Yes.
And so they had to identify you.
You can't tell me to remove it.
No, they will tell you to remove it. You remove it.
I listened to you when you said we are all royals. So why do you ask me to remove my royal name?
We'll take a break at this point.
We'll tell the president to drop Nana from.
I don't know. Sports is up next. Stay with us here on NewDay. We'll be right back with some more.